What are you doing?
Yo, what up, everybody?
What's up?
How we doing?
What are you getting? You getting alerts on your phone? That's not very professional of you.
Oh, it's actually my email saying alerting that we were live.
You get alerts to your own podcast?
Yeah, I subscribed from like personal channel.
Oh, is that how we faked our numbers to get them up? We just
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah.
I've been doing. I have like 700 email accounts, and I keep following our show.
It's cheaper than buying them.
It's way cheaper than buying them.
Yeah.
Way
What I
cheaper.
find ironic is how somebody's views can go, but their following like skyrockets. Like that's the weird part.
That is a little odd.
Because like last week, a certain somebody was at like 600, and now they're at like 1,200, but their views for everything have gone down. But
That's
we're
a little bizarre.
it's just kind of weird on the algorithm. But hey,
Everything's kind of weird right now, though.
when that same person wants to compare Instagram views, we can do that too. Like,
Oh Lord,
let's do it.
let's not.
So what's going on? Let's see who we got here. We got what's up, Amy? How you doing? Mrs. Blue Whiplash. What
Hi,
up,
Blue
yo?
Whiplash.
Amberlyn.
Amber. Britt.
Brooklyn. What up? Nick is the boss. What up?
What you
Dancy
doing?
in the house.
Missy just rolled in.
Got Kathy GG. Yep, we got Missy. We got C Bunny.
Oh Lord, here we go. Now we're gonna get in trouble.
Yo, what up, Amanda?
We're gonna get in trouble now. Bunny's in here. We're done. We're done.
Saying who your guest is so you know who is next, Pablo. Uh-huh.
Huh? We're hanging out with each other tonight. We don't always have a guest.
Who is next, Pablo? Oh, I don't know who that is.
I'm confused. Pablo, no, Pablo's not coming.
Unless you're saying our next
I'd love to have Pablo on again.
Yeah,
But
even Pablo's confused. Unless they're saying that whoever our guest is Pablo.
maybe. Pablo's confused though. I mean, Pablo's always welcome.
Cats is completely out of control on TikTok.
What's Kat's doing? Kat's is sending out a bunch of blind requests.
Yeah.
Like the blind react requests. She's sending me like cool clothes.
Yeah, Texas Patriot, what up? Zach said Foot Junkie was Pablo. Oh, the true story.
Oh.
But Misfit also said that, but he also said that Foot Junkie wasn't a person.
One damn podcast.
We're not doing the whole podcast on that dumbass.
I hate that son of a bitch. I'm just so over talking about him. Like I'm so over a lot of things lately though. Like I'm a vibe lately, and
I mean, America's a vibe, right?
Everything's a vibe right now, and that's like a lot of like the little, I don't know, it's not little shit, right? Because it's not like the online stuff really isn't little because people have made it such a humongous ordeal, but at the same time, like there is so much going on right but like at but I kind of want to avoid what's going on right now too. Like, I can't figure out if I want to have like complete distance from what's currently going on and just pay attention to little stupid things, or if I'm like ready to go all the way back in with like the government again. I mean, you saw me today watching Joe Biden for just a mere 4 minutes. I mean, I lost my mind.
Oh yeah,
I lost my mind.
You're talking about that Joe Biden, right?
I'm talking about that Joe Biden. I watched the news today for the first time in a very long time. And while I do agree with where's this one?
That is a plastic warehouse in Kissimmee, Florida.
I heard about the one in Florida. Barty was telling me about the one in Florida.
That's that one. And plastic toxins are in the air now.
And then we have, being in Michigan right now is super, super exciting. I mean, in the span of 72 hours, we had a mass shooting at Michigan State University. We had a UFO go into the river, or the lake.
There was
and we just had a train derail in Detroit with hazardous material. So That's Michigan for the last like 30 years.
Yeah, it's all been like it's been
But
weird
the point that
because
you keep making is what makes me more scared, but at the same time makes the most sense.
which is
We were discussing earlier today how like a lot of these things also happened before
yeah,
World War II.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's yeah, 5 trains so far, and like you got our Department of Transportation Secretary Buttigieg comes out. He's like, oh, there's thousands of train derailments every year that never gets set. Okay, so can we take that same logic to like I don't know, gun control? There's thousands of mass shootings all over the time. Like,
Right.
because this is going to affect millions
Right.
in several states, almost half the country.
We're gonna start needing like some solutions. Like even I was struggling this weekend. I think I was actually talking to Pablo about it. Um, with like the shooting here at Michigan State, because like of course like the human part of me is just like, oh my God, just like get rid of all the guns. Like instinctively, I'm just like, I don't want this to happen anymore. Like I'm so sick of this happening. But then, the
That
rational
makes
and
sense.
realist part of me kicks in and is like, they're gonna do it regardless. Like bad people are always going to be bad, and there's always going to be bad things that happen. But I feel like there's just like a lot of it over the last couple of weeks, like more than normal.
Right. No,
Right. If
and
you
I think
don't learn
like,
from it repeats.
and then here's my thing to the Democrats because all the Democrats, especially in my videos, whenever I talk about, oh, Trump did this because Trump deregulated a lot of the regulations that were put in place to prevent this. Okay, for first of all, that deregulation took place in 2018. There has been zero increases in the amount of train derailments to this nature
Mhm.
to show that like maybe we should have rolled back those regulations. Second point is why didn't Biden put those regulations back in? He's had 2 years to do so.
Well, and from like what I heard earlier today, it was like they weren't giving them enough time to do all of the checks. Like the checks that they allow, it was like 30 seconds for them to check each thing to where if they were allowed, if because it was like an axle with one of these, which should have been caught during a safety check.
Sure. I mean, don't get
So,
me wrong. There's going to be some human implements in a lot of this. So, like, am I
right,
going
but
full
how much of
conspiracy?
what's currently going on right now is just people whose brains are broken from the last 2 years of bullshit that we've
Well,
had to
and that's what
endure.
I'm getting in my comments is that they're going to do an environmental lockdown on us now. It's like that's what
Of
people
what?
are guessing. I
If
mean,
it's
but
not
that
gonna
just
be
goes to show
aliens.
you, like you said, like where our brains at. It's just when you have so much going on at like, and the weird thing is like hardly any of the news is covering it like they should.
That's what I don't like. That's the unsettling point to me is
Like
that no
all
one really
news,
is.
yeah,
Mhm.
all news, not just your mainstream, but also your like your not so reliable news isn't even covering it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's a lot, and it's weird because it does make it seem like we are under attack in some sort of fashion.
Yeah, I remember, like, that was, like, a vibe that gave you today when you called me and you're like, "Are we,
Well, because you
like,
see so much, JFK, a major airport, like also lost its power in one of the major terminals today. And I think I might be off the DeSantis bandwagon.
ooh, what did his Santa do to you?"
It's not what DeSantis did.
Mhm.
It's George Soros endorsing him.
George Soros endorsed DeSantis?
Yeah, so George
Yeah, I'm
Soros
good.
said that Trump has turned into a pit bull figure, and then goes on to compliment DeSantis and says he will be the Republican nominee.
Y'all, we should do the opposite of what George Soros wants us to do, always. Whatever George Soros wants us to do the opposite.
Yeah, so like for me, I'm like, oh, okay,
What?
I'm done on DeSantis now.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm fairly certain that I'll be voting third party.
Oh, I'm gonna give a third party a more of a look than I ever have.
Yeah, and I wish that more people would. Like, I would love in my lifetime to see a third party
Same
candidate make
thing.
it to the debates. Like, I want to see that in my lifetime. I want to see a third party.
Well, you technically have.
What do you mean?
You just didn't pay attention, but you technically had it in your
To the
lifetime.
main stage debates?
Yeah, Ross Perot in the 90s.
Oh, Lord, I wasn't paying attention in the
I,
90s,
yeah,
Ken.
you said your lifetime. Technically, it was in your lifetime.
Okay, well, in my adult lifetime, where I actually care and I'm paying attention, I wanna see it, and it makes me, like, kinda be like, "Man, maybe we didn't give Ross Perot a
See, I'm not
a
the only
chance."
one.
Okay, alright, okay, but maybe we didn't give him a good enough chance, and then I go back and look at, like, the girl that was running during Trump and Biden, and she was pretty good too. Like,
Oh,
I just feel like America needs 4
are you talking about
years.
Joe Jurgensen?
Yeah, I liked her.
She's weird.
I feel like America needs to, like,
Third party needs to get a better candidate too,
hate
though.
itself for a little while and, like, just go third party for 4 years and just let everything kinda, like, chill out.
Yeah, no, it would be good. I mean, the weird thing is like both parties. I hear it on both sides between the two parties that we all want to get rid of the establishment, but nobody's willing to like do what it takes to get rid of the establishment, and that's to vote them out.
Mhm.
And instead, we want to take the lazy way out. That's going to take the longest and most fighting route, and that is to put um, in term limits. So we want limited government on the right, but then we want the government to do term limits. How does that work? How do you want limited government and then look to the government to solve issues? Like, do it yourself. It's called voting every
Yeah,
2 years. That's all it is. You just
and
vote.
I'm gonna stand behind, I don't care why you didn't vote, I don't care what your excuse, what your reason, if you didn't vote, you don't get to bitch. You
Including being
don't
sick.
get to you don't get to get loud, you don't get to try to find solution, like, just shut up for a little while because you didn't care enough to vote.
Does that include if you're sick?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you remember my situation where I had to go vote. I was having a horrible freaking day that day. I had to bring both the kids. I was horribly sick. I wound up in the emergency room the next day. Still went and voted.
Still voted.
Like,
Yeah.
go vote or don't complain. And I'm just I can't do like the all Democrats are this and all Republicans are this and that. I can't do that shit anymore. I can't hang with it anymore. I can't do it anymore. It's not working. We're all just doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, and it's not going to happen.
I absolutely agree. And this is why
Well, what are we going to do? We're going to get Trump back, and then the left's going to go absolutely batshit and not listen to anything that he says, like we do with Biden. Like, it's just going to be swapped. That's all it is, and it's not like anything's actually going to change.
right. And I wish that we would just realize that like at the end of the day, it's not the every 4 years vote that matters the most. It's the every 2 year vote that
Mhm.
matters the most in this country. It's not the president has, as we see between the last two presidents, when they don't when they're not able to run away with power, they literally have limited power as president.
Mhm.
That I mean, they do have some federal that they can do, but that doesn't always trickle down to the states that they can do without congressional support. It has to be, congressional, obviously, and most of everything that they do. This is why when Biden was running, he said he was going to issue a nationwide mask mandate, and he couldn't because it's
Mhm.
unconstitutional. He doesn't have that authority to do so. As much as they want to blame Trump now for lockdowns, at the end of the day, Trump never locked anything down. The governors of the states locked it down,
Right.
including DeSantis. And I get that like people don't like including him in there because y'all like him, but he did lock down. He shut
Mhm.
down beaches. Like we still got to throw that out there. Like
Well, we
not
gotta
just
stop, like, this fake personal relationship with government officials. Like, what are we doing where you get so offended when someone like, somebody somewhere's butthole puckered up when you talk shit about DeSantis, like, somebody got triggered. Somebody felt the
right
need to,
there,
like,
Pablo.
come in.
That has always been my problem right
Are
there.
you serious? I
That
didn't
is
know that that was
100% accurate. That is yes.
that's
And
ridiculous.
it's a
That's
both party issue.
ridiculous.
It's not a right issue. It's not a left issue. It's an American issue because we have been like tricked into this like conditioning that the president is where it's at, so that
Mhm.
the bottom people that have the real power continue to get reelected because they can. And so it's like we got to stop that cycle because it's the every 2 years that really affects us the most.
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, Republicans, if we had better turnout on the Republican side, we might have been able to get the Senate. And if we had better turnout on the Democrat side, the Republicans may not have taken the House.
right.
That's how important it is. And now we're going to have basically, it's going to turn out to be a lame duck presidency from here on out because the House isn't going to work with the Senate. The Senate's not going to work with the House, which means very few bills go to Joe Biden. And while you may make that claim that, okay, that's a good thing, but at the end of the day, it doesn't progress our country in any way.
Right.
Um,
We're just at a standstill and probably the worst time to be in
we're
a
about to
standstill.
default on our debt because we haven't raised the debt ceiling. We're past that. And we're
We
coming up
did we
on,
did buy a couple months the other day.
oh, did they finally do
Yeah,
something?
we
Because,
bought it we bought a little bit more time.
well, from my understanding, it's coming back up again.
Yes,
Like
it is.
we're just kicking the football down the road,
Yes.
and catching up to it. And we as we the people, regardless of what political party, we don't hold our own accountable because, again, if Trump did roll back these regulations that caused this much harm, why didn't Biden correct it in the 2 years that he
Right,
had and he could have?
right.
And then I don't know if you saw the news on it. He's rejecting federal aid in
Federal aid
Ohio
for what?
for emergency declaration.
W Why? Did he have a
Uh,
reason? What was the reason?
Biden, Biden's admin turned down Ohio's request for disaster assistance after toxic derailment. FEMA continues to tell Governor DeWine that Ohio is not eligible for assistance.
If what? They don't consider it a natural disaster,
Right.
but it's still a disaster.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do for all
Obama,
those people?
Biden, same thing. Like, yeah.
So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do with all those people now? What about
Well,
them?
it's going to be up to the state of Ohio. Like, they're going to have to figure it out. I mean, this is the double-edged sword of states' rights, correct? I mean, we're for it whenever it comes time to like Roe v. Wade, but like this is part of states' rights at the same time. Um, and while yes, it is nice to have a daddy like the federal government to be able to have your back at certain times, but I,
But we can't completely rely on them, and if we haven't learned that, if we have not learned that this entire time, that we can't rely on them, like, I don't and it makes me angry to see those numbers that Pablo threw up because if we can't I mean, if you don't care now, if all of this isn't bothering you now, what the hell is it gonna take to get people to get up and vote? Like, this has been the worst experience from 2020 to current ever.
yeah.
You can't get up to vote. But I mean, everyone's real angry. We see it all in comment sections. We see it in videos. We see it in if you go and you watch a news stream live and you watch the comment section. It's like, where the hell were all of you when it was time to vote?
Well, we've become that social media generation where we just think that making a TikTok solves problems, or making an Instagram reel, or a tweet, or a Facebook post, and that's going to make the change. But at the end of the day, nothing's going to make change unless we're out on the ground doing the work that needs to be done. Being our school boards, being our local government, holding them all accountable, and quit playing favorites. Like at the end of the day, your guy or girl on your side of the aisle sucks too. Like just gonna
Yeah.
break it down to you. They make mistakes and it's okay. The
Well,
only
they
way
all
you
suck.
get better politicians is holding your own accountable to the standard of which we elected them. Everybody's mad at this George Santos guy of lying to get into office. That's every damn politician.
Every single
They
one.
all lie to get in. But now all of a sudden we want to hold him accountable because he lied about his credentials. Joe Biden lied about his credentials, and we elected him
About
president.
his credentials. They all overinflate themselves and make themselves sound way better than
Right.
what they are.
And until all parties are willing to like go, okay, we're going to, by all parties, I'm talking about voters. Okay, he's not going to step down. So
Mhm.
that means whenever it comes time, vote his ass out if it bugs you that much.
Yeah.
There's your term limit. Like, then you don't have to worry about relying on the government to do things. And so that's the thing that like it is just frustrating to me watching because we see it on TikTok. Then the ones that do the stuff outside of the apps, they get chastised.
And, like, I am so over this. I am. Like, it and maybe it's because it's not me that it's happening to that
Right.
I'm the most mad now. Is you
You're
have
right.
people that are out there and they wanna do the things, right? They wanna make the difference. They wanna be the light. They wanna be the change. They're willing to get off their couch, to go out there, to do it. And to see people swarm in and try to take that and try to ruin that and try to make it a bad thing, when if everyone just did that, we wouldn't need anybody because no one, like, I mean, it's like butter, like, no one's coming.
No.
No
This is
one,
where like
like,
this
I
is where
love you guys, but, like, there isn't a plan. No one's coming. No
right.
one's coming to get you, no one's coming to save you, and the only way that we're gonna be able to do anything is if everybody puts their own egos down, their own politics down, and we actually try to figure something the hell out on how we can fix it.
And the
Like,
thing
I know that if
is
my community falls to shit, no one's gonna do anything. I live in a tiny ass little town that no one cares about. There's nothing important here. There's nothing of value here. So it's gonna be up to the community to step in and take care of one another, and that's how it has to be the whole way around. Stop going to Joe Biden for help. He ain't gonna give it to you, and neither is Trump. No
no.
one's gonna give it to you.
Well, if we did, we should, and that's why I felt like 2020 to 2022 should have been like the biggest civics lesson of our lifetime, like right in real play, because Trump couldn't save anybody.
Mhm.
I mean, he couldn't as much as they probably want to or whatever. But like, and the thing is, like, we know that when push comes to shove, we do put politics to the side. I mean, we saw it with Fort Myers when the tornado went through, or the
Mhm.
hurricane, sorry, went through. So we know that it can be done. We saw it 9/11.
But
But
listen to all the things that you're saying. We only do it when there's a
right,
tragedy. We only do it when there's this big, huge tragedy and it's already too late. The bad thing already happened. People are dead, all the horrible things. And then we're like, oh, let's all get together and unite and we'll all come together and make it better.
I'll
Like,
run
why
with you,
in the
gentlemen.
hell? See, and that's I want that more than anything.
I'll
I
run with
think
you,
if the
gentlemen.
president is a Republican, the vice president should be a Democrat and vice versa.
That's how it used to be.
And it needs to be that way again. I
Yeah,
don't understand
the
like what we're
second
doing.
place person used to be the vice president. Um, but I mean, like, that's what like. And then the thing is, like, we see it like. So I just put a
Wait,
question.
what? Trump announcing a push for 6G? We just got
Oh,
5G and
no,
public
yeah,
executions?
yeah, he is. He is doing that.
Public executions for who?
I think just public executions in general. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. For some of that, I'm kind of here for it, just because I think a lot of that show.
Pedophiles is always my thing. I'm like, oh,
Oh
that's
yeah,
not a good idea unless it's a pedophile.
right. And
Like,
murders.
just because there's not
I
like
wouldn't mind. I mean, mind you, if
rules for it.
you look at what's on death row, anyways, it's not usually for like.
Yeah, but how many times have we seen people that are on death row? You
Mhm.
wind up finding out that they didn't do it and they wind up being found innocent. Like,
Right,
where do you
kind of like those murders that were found innocent but are really guilty. I mean, I'm
right.
not saying that like obviously no justice system in this earth is perfect,
Mhm.
but I'd like to think that ours is pretty damn good because it is. I mean, it's not the best by any means, and it is based
No.
on it's a class thing, not a. I don't believe it's a race thing. I think it's a class thing because the more money you have, the better attorney you can afford, which means, I mean, Yeah, the Innocence Project.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, we mean, we've seen plenty of those, and wasn't there was a movie, gosh, what I don't even remember what the movie is. Kevin Spacey was in it, but he was in it, and it was all about that. Like, he got himself put in prison and didn't do it, and just to see, and I think he wound up being executed in the movie,
Oh, did he?
and he didn't do it. But there was just like there was enough shadow of doubt. There was enough money, and that is a huge problem. That's a huge problem. Money talks. Like,
Oh, 100%. Like,
money's
and it
always
is.
talked.
Yeah, and that's
Life
the
of
thing.
David Gale, that's what it was. Yeah, that was a good movie. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's good. It's a good one. It's a good one. But there are those situations.
That's a damn fact right there.
I think
That
it's
that's an absolute fact.
dangerous.
Is and that's the thing that with the two-party system that we're running into is because when the pendulum swings over here for 2 to 4 years, maybe 8 years, if they get lucky
Mhm.
on this side, it swings harder over here because of the way that our political climate is. And then once these people take back over, it's even further instead of just like picking up and like, okay, what are some major things we need to fix? Maybe like some train derailments if that was really an issue
Right.
uh, due to regulation, or whatever. But like, and then the problem is we don't even hold the people that we know can make progress. For instance, both parties have had full control of the government, both House, Senate, and the
Mhm.
presidency, from every president to at least Reagan. So Biden just had it for 2 years. Where's all this gun control laws? Where's this Black Lives Matter stuff at? Where's
Right.
anything that they ran on to get? They could have shoved
Right.
everything down the Republicans' throats.
Yep,
Immigration, they
and
could have
you can
solved.
go back and say the exact same thing for the first 2
Right.
years
And I
that
was
Trump was
going
in.
to.
Like, they don't do what they say that they're
Right.
gonna do.
Right. Both
And
parties
then
have
they
said we
all
need to
act
fix our
like
immigration,
idiots. They
and
all
both
act
parties do
like
nothing about it.
children.
Yep.
People wanna talk about, like, I love it when, I get a comment on mine that's like, "Oh my god, you're, like, always in the drama. Oh my god, you're like a child." And then I'll see the same person rooting on Marjorie Taylor Greene for walking through the halls of Congress with a balloon. Is it funny? Sure, for like an SNL skit, abso-freaking-lutely. If it's just friends bantering back and forth, absolutely. It's funny, right? It's like a little troll move. But like these are our elected officials. They're supposed to be the voice for many, for all of us. They're supposed to be the ones that like can get their shit together, sit down, focus, have a normal conversation, put politics aside and do what's best for the people. And they can't. They can't. They're too busy being petty with each other too.
They are.
While I think it was funny, yeah, it was funny. I would have laughed at it on Saturday Night Live too. Like politics needs to go back to being boring and calm.
Yeah.
They're like all trying to be famous now. They're all trying to be famous now and just and do dumb shit and
Yeah, it's just and until we can actually hold our own side accountable, that's where I get hated because I have no
no, I
issues.
do not feel the two-party system ultimately works.
No, it's failing us big time. Um, I mean, this is why when Biden has been in charge for 2 years, that could have fixed these regulations if that was truly the issue.
Mhm,
Didn't do it instead of holding him accountable, going, Joe, why didn't you do this for the last 2 years that you had the opportunity? Because it's just an executive order. So
mhm.
it's literally just a stroke of the pen. And instead, they want to pass the buck off to Trump, who's no longer president and no longer in charge to fix these issues. But also on the flip side, us on the right could be pissed at Trump and go, why'd you roll these back?
Right,
Like, are you going to roll these back if Biden rolls them back in? Are you going to roll them back like
right.
and create this damage again? Like, and these are questions that we need to ask since he's rerunning. Obviously, okay. Here's some things that you did while
Is
you were
it like for
president.
sure?
What?
Is it for sure that he's gonna run
Yeah,
again?
remember his like big special announcement he had to have was just say he was
Oh,
running
that's
for
right.
president. Like it was the
Like, I'm here for the debates. Like, I'm low key here for the petty debates, but that's about it.
Oh, I'm always here for the debates, and but
That
I watch them on both sides. I watch
I
them
love the debates. They're
on.
great.
I just like watching debates.
But,
Um,
like, I just don't wanna do it again. Because what are we gonna do? Then Trump's gonna get in. Then everything's gonna be Biden's fault, just like everything is Trump's fault now.
well, but
So
we
it's
do
just
this
one side getting what they want, and they don't even get what we don't even get anything. They don't even give us what they tell us that they're gonna give it to us.
right. But the problem is, well, you can't say you didn't want
Sorry.
Biden in the first place because the primaries vote says otherwise.
They
Uh,
didn't. I mean, who else were they gonna they didn't.
they had 22 candidates to choose from. They had
They
plenty.
all sucked.
You can't tell me that the oldest
They
white
pulled
man.
Biden for
It's,
nostalgia from Obama during a hard time and struck those freaking heartstrings
this
with
is
all
from the
of the
same
left.
party that says we're tired of old white men. So what do? They vote in the oldest white man
Oldest,
in American
whitest guy
history.
that exists.
Like
The oldest, whitest
the
guy.
oldest, he's 80. I mean, I'm like, what?
I can't do it anymore. But like that bums me out because I was kind of excited about DeSantis, but now that you told me that, like, no
Yeah, that
thanks.
George Soros gets me because
Yeah, like if you get a George Soros endorsement, I'm all set with
I
you.
mean
I
he
got
didn't like come out and say I'm endorsing him, but he said he's going to be the nominee. So I'm sure some money is going to fly
yeah,
that
like
way.
he's like, right. Bleh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so like to me, it's like I mean, granted, we all got hypocrisies on both sides, and until we recognize what those are and work on them and actually hold them accountable, because I haven't seen anybody like legitimately ever complain about Biden, and you can't tell me he's batting 1,000 either. Like,
Mm-mm.
I
No.
mean, but he's also not batting zero. Like, there's some things. Yeah, I did see that. John Fetterman, he was that newly elected Pennsylvania guy
Checked
that,
himself in for severe depression. The guy, the best dressed guy?
yeah, the guy that had a stroke and can barely talk. And I'm not knocking him for it, but at the end of the day, like, are you good enough to serve? Like that's more what I'm concerned about, and clearly not because he's
Well,
taken.
now he's in the hospital
And it
from
is sad, but like, why do we vote these kind of people in just because they got a D next to their name or an R next to their name? We got to stop this in general. He
yeah,
wasn't fit to quality. He wasn't. He should have really, in all honesty, skipped an election cycle, get his mental health, get his physical health back in shape, and then run. But instead, this is what
that
we
would have been
get
a smart thing to do.
if they're really concerned about it. But everybody's just too concerned about when they vote with a D or an R
Right.
next to the name instead of like what is truly best. And so until we get to that point of actually being able to see what the true best candidate is, I'm not saying Dr. Oz was the best, but I'm also not saying that he was
Dude, Dr.
worse.
Oz was a joke.
I'm mentally and physically capable of serving is way better.
Yeah.
And he's a Democrat, really. I mean, he ain't no damn Republican. We all know that. Neither was Trump. Is Trump? Like, come on.
Are you like,
They're
can
not.
I just like opt out?
Yeah, I mean, you could not vote.
Well, that's
You
never
can
gonna
vote.
happen.
You
But
can vote third party. I mean,
no, like I just want to opt out in general. Like I I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't
and the thing that's pissing me off is the people
I
that
just
always
wanna
go,
watch silly
"Oh,
TV shows and make silly videos and hang out with my friends and be left alone.
the ones that's kind of starting to piss me off a little bit now are the it's a distraction people." And here's why. Normally, I'm like, okay, whatever, like no harm, no
But a
foul. It's a
distraction from
distraction.
what?
But here's the thing: if this is a distraction, I'm okay with being distracted in this case because you're talking about millions of lives being at stake.
Yeah.
Millions. I'm not going to turn a bad eye. I'm not going to turn my eye to try to look somewhere else where a distraction might be when there's millions of people suffering right now in Ohio. and the surrounding states. Like they're talking a 200-mile radius. We're in that 200-mile
Yeah,
radius.
hi, I'm in that too. And not only are we in that 200-mile radius, now we have our own. So now
Right.
we're like walled in,
And tell the people of Ohio and Florida
that it's a
and
distraction.
Texas and Arizona and everywhere else that it's a distraction.
I saw the MSU thing get used to as, oh, it's a distraction. Oh, they're only covering it to push gun control. Okay, you might be right on why they're over covering these. Yes, but it's still happening. Like when you use the phrase "it's just a distraction," it implement it like
Facts.
I'd love it.
I
Right.
would love a true distraction.
But doesn't it kind of like imply that like if it's a distraction that it's not true? Like to me, that's what like don't take it seriously. It's just a distraction. Right. But
But to
like
me,
people
like
are
it's
still
almost
dying and that's
and
not
that's the thing,
okay.
like it's almost like they're devaluing what's happening because
Right.
Epstein list is coming out.
And don't
Okay.
get me started. Don't.
No,
Mm-mm.
I'm not. But like, don't get me wrong. Like, is the Epstein list important? Yeah, but is it more
Why?
important
Why is it
than
important? Why is it important?
well,
I know I got a real unpopular opinion about the Epstein list right now. Why is it important?
well,
What are we gonna do?
well, difference between what we're gonna do and not is a different story.
We're
But
gonna see a bunch of names from a
I'd
bunch
like
of
to know.
people, and it's gonna show you how sick and disgusting and twisted this world really is, and how many people like that exist, and you can do nothing because Ghislaine Maxwell was the first person in history ever to be charged with human trafficking to no one. No one. She's a human trafficker, but who did she traffic them to? No one. No one. So, like, my thing is, I don't want to see the damn list unless you're going to do something about the damn list. You're going to start indicting these sons of bitches. You're going to start locking them up. No, you're not. So, why do I want to see it? I don't want to see it. I know how much ugly and disgusting there already is in the world. And I'm sick of seeing all the ugly and all the gross and all the disgusting and it being like, but you can't do a damn thing about it.
It's true. I
Like,
mean,
I don't know what to do with it anymore. Yeah, like I knew that all these people went to Epstein Island. It's a gross thing. It's a horrible thing. But what's going to be done? And what do we do? What can we do? Like we got the names. Now what? Now what do we do? How do we do like I mean, and I'm genuinely asking like if anybody actually knows, like what would be the next step? Like, how do we go and get charges pressed? How do we get these people thrown in prison? And if there's no way to do it, then aren't you just rubbing it in our faces that there's all these disgusting people out there that want to hurt our babies and there's nothing we can do?
and do you think that as long as we don't do anything with that list, that those names, the people on those names are going to just stop because their name got listed? No, they're still
Right.
doing
No,
it.
they're rich. They're still going to be doing stuff to kids. Nothing changed for them. Nothing. Like, and if you think Jeffrey Epstein is bad, oh my God, there's worse than that. But,
Yeah.
like, unless you can give me direction on where to go from there, I feel like it's just another fear-mongering thing, right? Like, we got aliens, so now we can all be scared of UFOs. We got trains derailing everywhere. Now we gotta be scared of that. We've got animals dying left and freaking right. We got people shooting up schools and killing babies, and then we're gonna get released these names of all these monsters that are after your babies. Like, it is just fear, 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 fear shoved down our throats all day long. And if it's a distraction from us just stopping and coming together and doing something about it.
And can I just say, like, for all those that say like the Ohio thing's a distraction, do you know what the biggest distraction is in America right now? It's this
Mhm.
phone. We are all distracted by this thing here.
And we are all addicted to it, whether you want to
Yes.
admit it or not. Like everybody talks online. I've said it. I'm sure Texas said it. Like, oh my God, just stop. It's just an app. It's just your phone. Put your phone down. But who the hell really can?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think we were talking about that like this weekend. Text about like sorry, I got distracted by Pablo's comment. And I can only imagine like And I do feel that, like, while I'm not somebody who will, like, Kat a year ago, if you would have talked about like systemic racism to me a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have laughed and been like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. When really what it is that yes, it is, but we're still ignoring it. Even though we're talking about it nonstop, we're actually ignoring it because we're overshadowing it with like everything is this and everything is this and completely ignoring that it is an issue. And they are doing that. Like it's a thing. It is happening. And whether or not, like, yes, it is an income thing, like Tex has said, and like I have said, it doesn't affect the white community as badly as it affects the black community. And you have to just go, well, why? Why is that? Why is that? And if you keep going back, it's like it's clear as day. And but it gets ignored because for us, everything is racist. And we're like, stop it. Like, it's not all that bad. So we ignore anything that has the word racist in it. It's like the word reactive abuse or the word narcissist, or like none of those words hold meaning anymore because so many people have just been throwing them around for the last 2 years that we're ignoring actual racism. We're ignoring actual narcissists. Like, we're ignoring actual problems. And that's the distraction. Like, that's the distraction, is that they don't want us to come together and actually like do things together. It's to keep everybody as divided as possible and then use all these tiny little buzzwords to keep everybody fighting nonstop and scared.
I think that
Always
definitely
scared.
sure. Yeah.
Like, I wasn't scared like this in
Exactly,
my
like the word
20s.
fascism.
Oh Lord. Yes.
Can you tell
Fascism
Tommy
is
Boy
fun.
that?
Or internet diagnosis. Scrappy and Bunny are so big mad. Now look, I have an unpopular opinion about that one too. Should we give
Oh,
it?
go for it.
All right. So the big thing that's going on the tiki-taki, and I went to make a video about it. So like we're doing it too, guys. Like, we're doing it. So it doesn't have to be just this or just this. So like I'm seeing a lot of people that are like, self-diagnosis isn't a thing. Stop self-diagnosing yourself. But that's wrong too. So nobody knows their own self more than themselves. If it wouldn't have been for me starting to self-diagnose myself, I would never have a diagnosis. And same with my daughter. When I started noticing that Elise was doing certain things like tiptoe walking and flapping her hands and a lot of these red flag things, I was like, ooh. So I do believe that like self-diagnosing to an extent is a thing. However, if you don't have that, yes, this is what this is from a professional, then no, I don't think that you should build your everything around that. I also don't like that, like, moms of autistic children right now are being really belittled by Adam. I will say your name. Like, you are belittling like the parents of children with autism by laughing at certain videos because you don't understand that like nobody's upset with you from what I can see that that it was like you weren't diagnosed as a child. And literally nobody's mad about that. It's the lack of diagnosis in a whole from what I'm seeing. Now, I'm not saying that Adam's not autistic. I'm not a doctor. He very well could be. He thinks that he is. He sees a lot of those things. So, okay. But you, like Adam, you don't understand what it's like to see your baby, your child crying, screaming during this testing. This testing takes days and days, and they're there all day long, these kids being tested, being talked to, being passed around from one person to the next person to the next person, and they're put underneath a microscope all day long. And we had to fight for that. We had to argue with doctors. I still have to go into a school twice a year and scream and yell at people. I got to do it in 2 weeks because they're not giving my kid speech. They're not giving my kid the extra things that she's entitled to underneath her IEP. So when you belittle, you can't get mad that people are belittling you while you're belittling other people. It's like the dumbest thing ever. And a parent of an autistic child has every right to speak about autism.
So
Every single right.
the thing about self-diagnosis, it's only valid and a valid self-diagnosis if it's confirmed by a professional. Because at the end of the day, I can self-diagnose myself and be wrong because
Mhm.
that's not what my field of study was growing up or what I do for a living. So therefore, for me, on the self-diagnosis saying, yeah, I can have a hunch of what it might be based on symptoms that I'm reading on WebMD or some autism site or anything like that. But until I go get it confirmed,
Mhm.
like, what if you're wrong? Then the self-diagnosis doesn't mean shit because you're wrong. And that's
Well, and
okay.
it's like
And it's
and it's
okay
like,
to be wrong.
don't take yourself I mean, and if that is the case, then that is the case. But you don't have any right to be reaching out to moms of children with autism. Like, don't think that I don't notice that you have this little group of moms that surrounds you that all have autistic children. Yeah, Scrappy, I know. There was just our she I just now found out about it like 2 weeks ago, and there was already one planned for next month, so I was like, whatever.
Exactly.
But well, that's the thing, right? Like, so
I mean, you get on
from
our side
watching
and you can be
TikTok,
like, "No,
I legitimately thought that I had ADHD. And when I went in for my neuro exam, I went into like a neuropsychologist office and I told them I was like, I think I'm either having like cognitive decline
I know you grew Louise 420. That's why I don't go to the doctor."
or I said I think I have ADHD and I had all the red flags, all the signs, all the symptoms, everything of ADHD. And it wasn't ADHD. It was CPTSD. Like for so long, my diagnosis was PTSD. So it didn't fit. And then we wind up finding out that no, it's CPTSD and that's why XYZ happens. But I just feel like if you really want awareness for the autism community, if that's your goal is to bring more awareness, you don't get to belittle mothers of children with autism. You don't get to do that. It's facts, Louise.
Cat used to do that, but
I used to. I don't anymore.
now it's
I know
beyond.
it's so weird. Like you do more than I do now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've almost completely stopped. But that's just because I'm on different medications now. So,
Right.
Lisa, it's because you need an indica. If
Of
you do an
course.
indica or you do like an indica leaning hybrid, you
We
won't
got
get as
these.
paranoid. And then CBD for
We
when
got
you get
these.
paranoid. Right, Butters. Like oh my God, it was so bad, right? Like it was so bad that testing. And then when you tell the parents, like, you don't get to speak on it because you don't live it. No, we don't live it, but you also don't know what it's like to live with it in your home either. So all perspectives when it comes to this should be warranted. Louise, I know it's so hard to be so girl. Like we've had this conversation. You're always teasing me with the Charlotte's Web, and it's impossible to get here.
It is?
Yes, like actual Charlotte's Web. Yes.
What
But
is that?
Tex, if we can get our hands on it, like
Now
I
you got me on a
almost don't
mission.
want you to have it because once you have it, like nothing else is ever gonna
Like
compare.
the creme de la creme.
Right.
Now I'm gonna
It's
go
like the
find it.
best of the best of
I've
the
got to
best.
find it now.
So
That's what
yeah,
it's called?
that's just my feelings on it because I was insulted like as a mother with a child with autism. I'm not saying that Adam isn't autistic. I'm not gonna say that. I hate when people bring my shit up or are like make me, show your medical records. And you know what? Even if Adam came on the internet tomorrow and showed medical records, there would still be 4 or 5 people that would constantly run with the fact that he was faking it. They do it
I
to
think
me.
I think part of that is because he's like literally already admitted that he doesn't have an actual diagnosis.
Right.
It's different for you when you have a diagnosis and you're advocating. But when you're advocating for something that you
But when he
don't have,
okay, so what's everyone gonna do in a few weeks if he goes,
well,
right?
cool.
And he gets the thing and it shows. Like, number
No.
one, anybody who's saying like you don't have it, you owe him an apology. And I'll say that flat out when it comes to this.
Well, I mean, technically, he doesn't have it right now based
Yes,
on
he
a
does.
diagnosis.
Just because he's not diagnosed, like I'm sorry, but like if he ends up getting diagnosed, he's always had it. It's just
Well,
he
until
wasn't
the diagnosis is there,
diagnosed.
yeah, I agree. You
But
didn't apologize for something that you didn't have a diagnosis for at the time. Why would anybody apologize for that? You didn't have an official
no,
diagnosis.
no, there's just been a couple of videos, not from people that like I know, to be honest
Right.
with you, but I've seen a couple where they're like, he doesn't have it at all, he's faking the whole thing. We don't know that.
Up until now, he is technically faking the whole thing because he doesn't like have the diagnosis from anything of
No,
relevance
but if he has autism,
other
then
than
he
his
still
internet friends.
struggles with the struggles of being autistic,
No, I get what
whether
you're
it's
saying,
diagnosed or not.
but for somebody to say that he is like at this present time to say he's faking it would be a yes because he has no official diagnosis. He's running with the marriage counselor said that he might have it, and then the research that he's done. But until like the diagnosis is there, he technically doesn't have it. And I'm just speaking in medical
Right.
terms. I'm not
No, but like
speaking.
this is how I feel about it right there. Like until I know, I wouldn't be like going full
That's
blown.
why I'm
And
saying
that's
that would be
where I think,
faking.
yes, that's where, I mean, he's not faking, but that is where I
That
believe
is
that
faking it.
he's
Like you can
screwed
go and
up.
say you can have cancer this whole time, and you don't have cancer until you go get the diagnosis
Yeah.
that you'll be able to treat. Because otherwise, you're faking it. You're just throwing it out there. Like I can sit there and make up all sorts of things that I have.
I don't understand people that, you know how I am with this. Like I don't want to believe that there's people out there that fake things like this,
Sure. I mean, we know that there are though,
because
unfortunately.
it makes me really mad, because like I take a lot of shit online. I get a lot of shit online for, oh, you don't really have it, and oh, you're not really sick, and you're just doing it for attention, and you're just
Think
doing
about
it,
like yourself. If you were advocating for EDS prior to you actually getting the official diagnosis of
which
EDS,
I did not.
and you came to the internet and you're doing all this advocating for years, you make your whole TikTok profile about that. And then what if he goes and gets it? He's not going to tell you whether he didn't get a diagnosis or not.
Yeah.
He's not going to say, "Oh, I tested negative for autism. I'm sorry." He's not going to do that either. So, at the end of the day, until you have the official, you shouldn't be running with anything that you have or not have, especially making it
That's what I
your
said, Scrappy. Like it's not big invasive testing if you're not trying to receive services. Like a family doctor could diagnose him at this point.
Why are we treating autism like it's a mental disorder, or is it? I don't feel like it is because everybody I know that has
No, it's a
autism is
neural it's a
normal.
neuro it's a neurological, right? Is it considered neurological? I'm also like not a big I'm not gonna
No,
stand
I'm
on a
not
hill
either,
and say that like I know everything about autism. I don't. I
but like
know
we're
what it's
making
like
it
to love somebody with autism.
right.
I don't know what it is like to have it. It is neurological. I thought
I could
so.
see as a child where you need like extra assistance and stuff, but
Mhm.
like I guess maybe as an adult, I don't understand why it would be an issue at his age whether he had it or didn't have it. Because he can still
What do you
work.
mean?
He's like, what additional assistance would he need? Would anybody, not just him? So I
Obviously,
just want to
obviously none. I mean, he's doing fine, so he wouldn't.
so why are we treating it right now like this is some major disability and mental disorder that it's not for him right now?
Right. No, I mean, he very well could be like my daughter. So like my daughter's level 1,
And
which
that's what I'm
which
getting at,
used to
Kitchen,
be
is like I don't
diagnosed
see why
as
we see it as a disability. I see like as a child because their mental comprehension in general
right.
as a child isn't there. So yeah, they need extra time, they need extra work and extra
Yeah.
assistance.
Well, and
But when you
depending
become
on
an
how
adult,
severe, right? Because there's different levels too.
sure,
So like with Elise, like Elise is ASD level 1. So which used to be categorized as like Asperger's, or high functioning autism. Like she doesn't, like, she has speech issues, but she does talk, and she makes great eye contact, and like all of the things that, right, it would be for him.
sure. But that's what I'm
But I
saying
believe but
for
I also
him,
believe if you're going to build an entire a platform on it and be reaching out to other people, that is where I have a problem with it.
right.
It is. Like, and I know from people that I've spoke to who have autistic children, like he was a very big push for them and giving them advice and things like that. And if you don't know what you're talking about, right, then you shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
You shouldn't. Like you shouldn't.
Right. Because I have heard him speak that he like as almost like it's a disability when he would clap back. Well, I have autism. Well, okay, what is like I don't see anything else of you using autism as that way.
Right.
So like, and that's why for me, like I can see why people would come and say he's faking it because technically speaking as of right now, that would be faking it because he doesn't know if he has it or doesn't have it. He just has some research that he's done, but nothing's been confirmed.
Right.
You know what I
No, and
mean?
Amber, I agree with you. Like that is when I got upset where it was like you know, you can't speak on it, Scrappy, because you don't have it. Well, technically, you know, you don't have a diagnosis either. So why do you get to speak on it? Like Scrappy's son has a diagnosis. My daughter has a diagnosis. You know, like Missy's son has a diagnosis. And like
Yeah, he's made like
autism moms can get
25
real
for
crazy.
Bunny today.
Months ago, made 8 videos rapid fire. Yeah, like, and that's where me and like, and it's so crazy to like see it all play out now. Cause the whole reason that like me and him don't talk anymore is because I wouldn't get involved because I had too many friends on both sides. And I've heard him use this like 97 times since.
Well,
Or
right
don't
now,
make videos about somebody if they have you blocked.
he's
And then
duetting a troll account when
and
this
then
whole thing
duetting
set
troll
off.
accounts when that's what started this whole shit show to begin with.
Was that
So
troll
at this
account?
point now, like I block it out. Like I have to. I have to block out a lot of it right now. Because I
Oh,
think it's just
Lisa,
being
I
mean to
can
be mean.
guarantee he did because he claims to have Bunny blocked, but he just did like a 25-part series breaking
I think we're
down
up to 27 now from what I
20,
heard.
okay, 27.
And
I
then he's
mean,
playing Scrappy's video of when she was laughing so hard that she peed herself. And insinuating that like Scrappy's got this horrible drinking problem now. And I'm like, but like didn't you like Adam struggled with that at one point, right? Like
I mean, just shit
you
her
struggle with
pants.
something, how can you turn around and be an asshole to somebody who's struggling who that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Even if it was drinking. But like little does Adam know is that after you've had a couple babies, I pee when I pee when I sneeze. I
Yeah,
pee if I cough too hard. I pee if
so
I
does
walk up
Liam.
the stairs too fast. Like,
Yeah, he made 27 today.
yeah, you'll be a drug. No, only if you decide to take pharmaceutical meds for pain, then you become a junkie.
Well, I mean, if she like was smoking pot online and peeing her pants, I think they would call you a drug addict at that point.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
you'd have to be like completely nodding out for me. And even then, because like I don't know, I follow this girl and I just like love her. Like I don't even know her and I love her. And she is on pain medication. So sometimes like when she talks, you know, it might be like a little slurred or she might appear a little bit sleepy. And they're like, see, you're high out of your mind. You shouldn't be on those meds. I'm like, you know that those meds do that though, right? It's like a side effect of it.
right.
It's like a side, but then we ignore people who are just sitting there getting like shit faced drunk on live, like shit faced drunk, can't even talk. Like some dude almost died on a live. A few, I was just gonna say, consider me Miles Davis.
Well, we're at the
Gross
top
over
of our
there on
hour.
TikTok right now.
It's your
Oh,
turn
only
to
two texts.
send us off positive this time. It's your turn.
It's your turn.
No, it's yours. I did it last time,
I think
and
it's
and
your
I
turn.
chimed in on Tuesday night's one as well, and added to that positivity. It's on your TikTok
Oh,
to prove that I chimed in.
okay. Um, positivity. I don't know how positive this is going to come out. I'm just going to repeat
Oh
something
boy.
that I already said. At the end of the day, no one is coming. No one is going to come save you. No one is going to rescue you. There is no divine plan other than our whoever our divine creator is, right? Whatever religion you believe in, whoever that is, that's the only plan. And if we don't learn how to put our egos down and our politics down and all the rest of it, we will fall completely. And everybody needs to start doing that. I feel like everybody needs to start building their own independent communities and relying on each other and not the government and not your elected officials because they're not coming. They're not.
Nope.
That was
And
positive, but I mean, it's about as positive as I can be. Like, yeah, and be your authentic self, because the more you are your authentic self, the more you're going to meet other people and actually connect. Everyone wants to know why they're not having good connections and all these fights are happening. It's because people are pretending to be things that they are not. They are pretending to be for save the children while simultaneously trying to ruin events that involve saving actual children. They claim to be anti-bullying, but then make fun of the people who are on the news who are literally out there in front of a school protesting for anti-bullying for a child who committed suicide.
But they made a TikTok, so it must make a difference.
Do the thing or like shut the fuck up.
Facts. With that said, we will absolutely see y'all Tuesday.